Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today for our third knowledge workshop of the year. Today we will be going over advanced Google searching. We're going to show you some nice tools. For today, the goals are just to really help everybody here improve their searching abilities and techniques, introduce you to some functionalities you may not know of within Chrome, and some new tools. So provide you some tools where you can access materials a little easier, especially anything that's open access or in repositories across the world. So to get started, NOAA itself is a G Suite government agency. So we got Google a number of years back, and everybody does use it for email and calendar and everything. So there's a lot of these functionalities are integrated in with NOAA's network. There are some functionalities that aren't necessarily integrated in, but as a Google user, you can still use. So Google, unlike a lot of the databases that are out there, a lot of the research and academic databases can be used to find material that is considered gray literature. Outside of theses and dissertations, there's not a whole lot of databases that focus on pulling gray literature together. This can be NGO and think tank research, some government documents, but a lot of just born digital material presentations, such as like a PowerPoint. So there's a lot of material out there that you're going to want to use Google for, but it's about using the right tool for the right job. And my anecdote is, I recently did a lot of work around the house and I had to break up some concrete. Sledgehammer I thought was going to be really the best tool to go with. That would be kind of like a Google search. But my father-in-law brought over a pickaxe, and I got to tell you that pickaxe was perfect for getting that concrete out of the ground, and it was just a targeted piece. So knowing how to use the right tool for the right job, and in this case, Google to find different gray literature, but really targeting it and just doing more than just a wide search. So the way you search is going to affect the relevancy, the quality, and the currency of the material that you do get in the long run. And it will impact the amount of time you spend on this in your searching and everything. So let's get started. The first thing I do want to point out is just take a look at the whole screen. There are tools here already on screen that are important to know about. When you do start, I would recommend logging into Chrome itself. Now, you can do this with your personal account, with a NOAA account. The personal account, if you do use it, allows you to sync all of your bookmarks and material across different computers and browsers, or not browsers, within Chrome, so different computers. And so you would go here, you would go into manage people. Normally there's just a little person up here. You go into manage people and you can add yourself right under here, add a person. So what you would do is you would add that and you would put in your email and associate Chrome with that email address. What that does is it takes up here what these are called extensions. These are extensions specifically added on to the Chrome browser, which will increase the functionality and give you new tools to work with. And we're going to review some of those today. It will also help you in order to sync your bookmarks. And so people are very familiar with bookmarks. I think they're a little overused. There's some new tools that we'll show you today as well to help you keep track of the information that you're seeing online. But bookmarks are just a quick way to get to the places you most commonly visit. So for instance, I'm on the NOAA Central Library's website, and for this account, I've created bookmarks straight to that website. I also have my Google Calendar, Mail, Drive, and a couple other ones we'll look at. And the way you add those is very simple. and I'm going to show one quick functionality to as we're going about. I'm just going to add these in, these nice quick ways to do things. Say for instance, I am looking at a database that the library has. Let's say it's Bio1 Complete. If I just hold Control on the keyboard, and that did overrid it. So let's see. That's actually not working the way that it's supposed to. Let's go to Climate Data Online, and I think my keyboard is off. So anyway, we're going to add this as a bookmark here. This is NCDC. The bookmark functionality is right there, that little star, and I can name it whatever I want. As you see, it comes up here, Climate Data Online. And what I like to do in order to keep things nice and clean up top is I like to just keep it without a name. And as long as I am using these on a daily basis, I can remember what is what. So I have, for instance, E&E News here, Washington Post, and just from the little icons, I can understand what it is I'm navigating to. So let's head back here. And let's see if we got through all those ones. Yes, yeah, absolutely. And if you can't see very well, I'm going to do something too. Here's another thing. If you hold down Control and hit the plus button up here, you can actually make your screen larger. I don't know what that's going to come off like for the people online, so I'll keep it about that size. So, so again, you can always increase the size of the text and browser through that functionality within Chrome. All right, so we're going to start with a general search, and I'm going to do it on zebra mussels. So say I'm an intern, or I'm just somebody new at NOAA, and I'm working in an office. Maybe I'm supporting the office who's working on zebra mussels in the Great Lakes as an invasive species. I want to learn more about them. Taking a look, just a general Google search, I can see, we have over 810,000 results. I want to narrow down my search, but I want to do it in a way that's going to give me the most direct information. So if I take a look at zebra mussels in Lake Michigan, for instance, I see 137,000 results. But as I scroll down, these are going to become less and less relevant. What it's doing is it's looking for any site here with these 4 words. So maybe zebra mussels will be something that will always pull up, but it just may be Michigan, and I may get things for Lake Superior to start pull up and everything like that. So it's going to become less and less relevant to Lake Michigan as we go through these pages. So if you want to make sure that you're targeting Lake Michigan specifically within a web page, if you include quotation marks around these 2 words like Michigan, you're going to find that zebra mussels is going to be these 2 words it's going to be looking for, but it's going to be looking for Lake Michigan specifically. It will not find a web page without the word Lake Michigan as it is set right there, and that's why we're seeing a drop down to 127,000 results. Still way too many. Yeah.
Does this still work if you're not logged into Google?
Absolutely. If you're not logged into Google, you can be just on any computer. Well, Google as a search engine is going to work like this. A lot of the other ones do too. Safari, Internet Explorer do the similar quotation marks for finding the exact term. So I can do another one. I can take zebra mussel and I could put that into quotation. It's going to find everything with zebra mussels and then also Lake Michigan within the web page. All right, so within Google, it's also important to remember the way things are separated out. You have images, news, videos. So if we take a look, we're going to find images of zebra mussels. If you hover over each image, you're going to be able to see what is the main domain that this is coming from. For example, this image right here is coming from Discover Magazine. You can right click and open that in a new tab so you don't lose where you're searching and take a look at that. So you can take a look at news articles through that functionality. But news is where you're going to want to go. For example, if this intern or new member of the office is looking for the most recent news on zebra mussels and Lake Michigan. Within the news functionality, you also have news. Let's see, it's going here. I didn't add it to my, but Google News. And I do want to point out, I am just typing a search right in here to this, what they call the Omni bar. You don't have to actually be on google.com to make a search. You can just type it in there and it's going to do that search for you. So Google News, and if I go in here, I can look for save searches. So example, I have this exact search saved in here. So zebra mussels in Lake Michigan. This is going to give me the most recent news that's happening, but I can't really do a whole lot with this. I can't say I'd like to see what was happening in terms of news in 2005, for example. There's no functionality to actually make those changes. Within the search bar here, if you make a regular Google search and then go into the news portion, there is a nice functionality to be able to do that. So if you go into this tools section right here, you can actually change from most recent to a custom range. And so this gives you, that pickaxe functionality rather than, not 5,000, that's not what I was looking for, 2005, I'm just gonna keep that open. So it's gonna do the whole year. Again, this doesn't cover all news resources. If you're looking for a comprehensive overview of news resources, I would use the library databases. But again, this is we're using Google, so I want to show you guys this functionality. So we're looking at January through December of 2005. It's interesting. We have one search result here, and I'm going to do that control click, and I'm going to open it up in a new tab here so I don't lose where I'm at. So again, that's just holding down the control key and clicking on that link. So I find myself the Southeastern Wisconsin Invasive Species Consortium, and if I was somebody just trying to learn about the work being done, I could take a look down here, and I'm actually find something here, and it's interesting. Let's see, NOAA Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory. So there's already some relevant information possibly to this intern or new person who came into the office, and I could take this, and instead of bookmarking this page, which might be a common task that you do, and putting it into a folder and then just letting that get crazy. What I can do is add it to Google Keep. And so we'll go over that real quick. Google Keep is an application within Google that allows you to organize resources, web pages, and it's just a better way to do things than your browser. So you can take a note, it's going to include information, you can actually tag it, and I think because we're on GoToMeeting, there is something happening here, but I'll open it up in Google Keep for you because I already saved it. All right, I'm frozen. Let's see. Okay, I think we'll come back to that. Let's see if I can, let's try it one more time. Yes.
How do you get to Google Keep?
Okay, so if you Googled Google Keep, you could you would go right in, and right now I just have it bookmarked here. There is also an extension that you can download and add up to your extension bar, but here you can just go to keep.google.com. But yes, you can add an extension for Google Keep, and so here it is. I've got it saved, and I can always return to this. I've got actually that's not the article. Let me go back and see which one. This one, that was the zebra mussels. So let's go back. I didn't do this one. And let's see if I can grab this one more time. If not, I'll just move on to the next piece. So if I highlight this text, save to Google Keep. Okay, it's coming up now. So zebra mussels. So I can highlight the important piece of information from that web page that I thought was relevant to my research. I can give it a title and I can save it. I can even add it to a predefined group, as I've already put together. I don't have anything here, so I can just save it, or I can save it to my train ride. So if I want to read this on my way home. This, if you do have a smartphone, Android, I believe probably Apple, where you can download it too. Definitely Android apps with Google. You can download Google Keep, and it's going to sync. So even if you're offline, you'd be able to read that, on your way home or on the way to work the next morning. And so it's just a really great way to add information. You can always archive these once you're finished reading them, so it goes away. And within Google Keep, there's a great piece of reminders. So you can actually set reminders for yourself. You can share these reminders with groups by adding collaborators. So again, we're a Google organization. We use a lot of these functionalities, day-to-day basis, calendar and everything. So you can actually set things. I've just said, Tanya's birthday is on the 19th. And just so you guys can take a look, I'm going to open up my calendar, and I can see Tanya's birthday right there. The reminder is set. It's going to send me a notification if I set it that way. I can add, an image to it. It's already archived so that I don't see it in my general notes. I can always go into the archive and see it, and I've got it repeating for every year, right? So these are things that beyond just the general functionality of the calendar that you use day to day, Google Keep is another tool that you should remember you have available through our subscription into Google. So I'm going to close that out real quick, and let's take a look. I do want to point out through this news search that Google's not perfect with this, and this is why you should use tools like Google Keep. If I take this functionality, custom range, the news that we are looking for, and let's say it's a couple weeks later and I hadn't kept this, or God forbid bookmarked it, but if I remembered, oh, it was something about I was looking at zebra mussels. It was somewhere between 2004 and 2006, something like that. That's from the Columbus Free Press. It's the only one up there. It's not it. I can't tell you why it's not there. Google has its own algorithm. So just remember, Google's going to change depending on how you're using it, when you're using it. So it's important that if you do find something and you want to cite it later on, or you want to read it later on, make sure to keep it with something like Google Keep, or at least email yourself the article, something like that, because the functionality is always going to change on you. And again, it's a great tool. It's not perfect. Again, for news articles, I would use probably the library databases, but this is a tool you should all be aware of. So talked about Google Keep. I'm going to go into another search now. We're going to be looking at algae blooms. So the first time, again, if someone's taking a look, and it's going to pull up all my search terms so you guys can see. So if I look at algae bloom just as a topic, and take a look at the search results I'm getting, you are going to notice a huge difference just between the change of one letter. So algae bloom versus algae blooms. So if you take a look, we've got top story. Right now we're looking at algae bloom. If you take a look, we have top stories, maybe what questions people ask, and some videos. Again, if I go to algae blooms, I'm going to get something completely different. This is going to be maybe a more general what algae blooms are, but I need to pay attention to the words that are coming back at me too, and that's part of using Google, part of using any search engine, is making sure you're looking at the results that are given to you, and you're better defining your search in the future. So instead of using algae blooms, which I would, people say, you hear about people talking about algae blooms. Well, it's really algal blooms is the search term that I want to use. So I can copy this either by right-clicking, but again, we're trying to increase functionality here. Control-C. So if you hit Control-C on your keyboard, and then Control-V is going to paste it right in. It just makes things faster. You can use both hands going at it. So algal blooms, we take a look at that. Some interesting information. You see, okay, harmful algal blooms. NOS is working on this. That's fantastic. And you think to yourself, well, maybe I'd like to know about what other governmental agencies are working on this type of information. The best way to start to drill down on who's publishing this type of information, who's researching this, is by looking at different types of sites. So normally we're used to searching .coms, .edus, .govs, those types of sites. So you can actually go in here and do algal bloom, and you can type in from there. You can go into site, not Stein, site, there we go, and colon, and then I'm just going to do gov. From there, it's going to give me everything algal blooms, but every website is going to be a .gov. So at that point, you can start to take a look through the results, and you can see who else is working on this. Well, we have NOAA, we have the CDC, we have USGS, you have EPA, NIEHS, you have New York State, you have NASA. So it's pretty incredible how many organizations are actually doing work on harmful algal blooms. And we still have 151,000 results. If I was looking, again, to narrow that down, I'm going to take a look at possibly the economic impacts. So economic impact, I'm going to put in the parentheses, because that's going to limit any website with economic impact in the search terms or in the entire text of the website. And so now I can find information on estimated annual economic impact. And we actually see, again, you can take a look, that's a PDF, and Google is going to let you know what type of file it is. If it's a link directly to a file, it'll say a PowerPoint or a doc. And another important thing to point out is always looking at this. And actually, as a librarian and as an information, I would say, super user, I have to always analyze where my information is coming from. And we all understand the importance of that in today's society, where we're confronted with so many opinions, really. We really need to pay attention to where our information is coming from. So as a librarian, my eyes go straight to this. To tell you the truth, I'm looking at this green bar underneath the link first. I rarely look at the title of what's coming up in my search results before I'm actually looking at the source it's coming from. And I think that's an important thing to remember today. As we go forward, yeah.
Site, is that just a domain controller, or is that just anything within the container controller?
It's both. So I could actually take an entire site and enter that in, such as NOAA.gov, and I would just get anything from NOAA.gov. And I'll show you another example here in a minute.
Instead of doing NOAA.gov, if I put site : Bob, will that just give me all the references of Bob, or is it going to look for websites?
It's not going to find anything. Yeah, .bob. Yeah, if there's .bobs out there, then sure.
So it's a domain controller.
Domain controller is the site here, but it also is a I don't know how you would say it, a site limiter as well. So if I did I don't know if the ICCT.org. Yeah, so the ICCT, of course, wouldn't have anything, but let's go into Gov again. But you can actually add other things in here, like file type. So now I've got everything on algal blooms with the word economic impact from government agencies, and I can add file type PDF. So now I'm receiving PDFs from governmental organizations that have economic impact specifically in them, and then algal blooms is most likely in them, but it doesn't have to be, they don't have, the words don't necessarily have to fall together. And let's take a look. I may have, let's see. Yeah, I jumped ahead, but let's take a look. We can see a couple of resources here. So this NOAA harmful algal bloom programs. Region 9 EPA. That's interesting. So it's a NOAA and it's on an EPA site, but I want to check out what this is. It looks like it was either you know, some type of presentation, but or you know, report about Region 9. So I'm learning a little bit more about maybe how the EPA is breaking up its information. So we have Region 9 harmful algal bloom program. So I can actually go back in here and let's just add another one, Region 9. And it wouldn't matter where I'm putting it, I just popped it right in front. So algal blooms, Region 9, economic impact. I'm looking for things on government websites that are PDF. And so there you go. You see Region 9, economic impact, algal blooms. So we have a lot of information here, 551 results, but about a very specific topic. And this is information you're not necessarily going to find through a library academic resource. This is going to be that gray literature, things that are more difficult to find. And if you did this type of search without these limitations, the limiters, the quotations and the site and the file type, it's going to be really difficult to find this type of information. From here, we'll just do another quick show. I'm just opening up these new tabs to show you too. Within Google, you can do a little bit of functionality here, pulling tabs out, pulling tabs back in. I only have one window open here. A lot of people who use a lot of information on multiple screens, so that can be helpful to pull pieces out in case you just want to, minimize it, save it out, and then, close the rest out or something like that. You can select multiple tabs by hitting Control and then pulling those tabs out as well. So everything that I just opened there, we'll just close up. And then I do want to show you another awesome tool, Google Trends. So looking at the topic algal blooms, we can use trends, algal blooms. We can take a look at how this search term in particular is trending in the United States. Not only how it's trending, but how it's trending within states. So you take a look at California, the search interest is 46, 58 in Florida. I really could not tell you how they tell what the search interest is based on, but if you take a look at Ohio here, you see a search interest of 100, and it's even broken down by metro area, which is really neat. So I can see in Toledo, Ohio, something is happening with algal blooms, and it just, piques my interest. So I can hop on, take a look, Toledo, Ohio, algal blooms, and it brings me, I go to the news and I can see, okay, Lake Erie, we have some harmful algal blooms projected. And I remember a couple years ago when I believe Toledo's water was shut off, and I think it was for a couple weeks at least. It was they were drinking bottled water, so it was pretty bad. So it's really interesting. We take a look at this. It's Cleveland.com, local news source. And as we continue down, we can see. So this is based on this projection. So we could take a look at this chart at least. And we can see actually NOAA, right, has produced this 2018 Western Lake Erie bloom severity forecast. So this is awesome. Again, if I'm somebody looking for information on algal blooms, especially in this area, very easy to find it just through Google Trends too, and just a different way to look at searching. And so we can go in here, and if I want to, let's say I'm going to pull this off, and I often use, this is how I make sure I'm getting the right search, 2018 Western Lake Erie forecast. All right, so if I do a search on that, what I'm going to see actually, let's follow my own tips. Here we go. What I'm going to see is, that general search, I found a lot of information kind of pointing to this, but I actually don't see that forecast itself. I could probably go in and click around and try and find it if someone's linked to it. But the best way, again, is just go to that file type, PDF. And then I can go down here and find that. And let's see if this is the 2018 as it loads. So if you wanted to go back and do 2017, you could do that. 2016, see how far you could go back. A lot of things online, though, they do disappear, and that's something to remember. You're not always going to be able to find a report that somebody linked to on a web page. You may not even find that web page. So another tool, as I start to wrap up here, that I want you guys to remember is archive.org and the Wayback Machine. So archive.org. Really great site. I would encourage you to take a look. But the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine has cached versions of sites going back as long as they've been crawled. And you're going to find it's a little bit different for every site. But just for giggles, like CNN.com, you can see how that page has progressed, what the top headlines were, and of course the more a website is hit by users, the more it's crawled. So if we go back and just take a look, for instance, 2007, I'm just going to click on a random day here. We'll go February 27th. I don't know what happened that day. But if I was looking for kind of like reporting on a specific topic, maybe even a local news source, did they report on this? Oh, can't be reached, thanks. Let's see if it actually pulls up. Sometimes it will. There we go. Okay. So this is what CNN.com looked like just back in 2007. If you don't believe it, it looks like 1992, but this was 2007. And we're, Janie heard a loud boom. So this is interesting stuff. And these are all tools that you can use. I found NOAA documents this way, stuff that I haven't been able to find in any other way. If you find a reference to a specific website and that website is down or the link is just bad, this is a tool that you can use to access this information. And it's just a lot of fun if you want to educate your daughter, your son, your grandson about what the internet used to be like. It's fun. I'm of the generation that grew up with it, so it's still a lot of fun though, because I remember that. Let's take a look at, let's see if I'm going to do anything else.
So if you have a specific website that you had a link for, but now when you try it doesn't work, you could plug that in up there?
Yep, absolutely. And
give it an approximate time frame?
Yes, so it's going to show you that the little chart there, how many hits, or at least how many caches they have of the site. So we could look at NOAA.gov, and it's not going to have as many captures. Let's go back to, sorry. I was pulling up all of them. Oh, shouldn't have done that. I'm not going to say anything about National Weather Service. Their site looks the same, I think. 2005, maybe February 2nd. There's a lot of good stuff on that site, though. I use it every day. So 2005, NOAA.gov. We'll wait for that to pull up. Of course, it takes a little bit of time. Here we go. So top stories.
Are all the cache links work too, or do they all break?
If it was crawled, they do work, and even PDFs work. You run into that. Not everything works. It's not. There's plenty of times where I've tried to find something, clicked on a link, I think the further you go back, the less likely you are going to be able to find all those links. But there's still a lot of information in there. So if I went to fisheries, for example, this is back in 2005. Let's see if it actually pulls up. There it is. So fisheries, let's see if I could even go in and find a publication. The search isn't going to work. People locator, right? Media. Let's see, audio files, whale songs, whale cry. That's going to be a long shot, I think, but it's always possible. See what happens. I've got the whale cry. So, and like if that was like a project you worked on and you moved offices and that information was really important to you, you may be crying because you found exactly what you needed. Just saying.
So you can find my old geocities site.
Like I said, you'd be surprised what you can find online. So we went over Google Keep. We went over Google. Did I go over Google Scholar? I didn't. Did I? No, heavy fuel oil. I've yet to do the last piece, and I want to leave time. I may do this really quickly. Let's go in. I'm going to do a real quick search here. Heavy, and it's so hard to cover all this stuff. Heavy fuel oil and Arctic shipping. Again, this is just a basic search. I could throw some quotations around Arctic shipping just to make sure that that's the information that I want on any site. And then I've got an extension here for Google Scholar. If I click that, it's going to take the exact same search that I just did, and I can just hit that button there. Let me do that again so you can see. I hit Google Scholar, and I just want it to open in a new tab. So I open that up. Here's Google Scholar. Through the library subscriptions, because we're IP authenticated, you will find PDFs. We'll link directly to information. Let's see, for example, Elsevier here. I'm not sure if this is one that we necessarily have. It doesn't. We don't have it. I know that we don't have the International Journal of Production Economics. However, this kind of brings up something else. This little interesting button here, and let's see, Copernio here. I don't know, I may have missed that, but Hope Shin here is our interlibrary loan librarian. She is the guru who both finds these things and requests them from other libraries. So if there's anything that the library doesn't subscribe to, we can always get it. She's going to review a couple of tools with you today, and I'll take questions along with Hope after we finish up, and you guys can always email us as well. All right, thank you.
So I'm just going to real quickly, because we want to save time for questions, go over some of the tools that you can use to find PDFs. Mostly of open access things. So Trevor just real briefly showed you or mentioned Copernio, and that's the first tool that I'm going to go over. So Copernio is a browser extension, and it's also a website that you will log into. You set up an account, and once you install it in your browser, it will, if you go to a page that like on Wiley or in Science Direct or Web of Science, it'll tell you whether or not the PDF is available. So it looks at our library subscriptions as well as any open access sources such as other institutions' repositories or anything available on the web. And within Copernio, since you have an account, you can save those PDFs into your locker. They call it a locker. And then anytime you log into Copernio, you can see the PDFs that you have saved. There are also two other tools that we like to recommend, the Away button or Open Access button and Unpaywall. These are also Chrome extensions. However, you don't have to log in or create an account with them. They just sit in your browser and they will find open access articles for you. They do not look at library subscriptions. So you do have to sort of look separately for those. But they're both just as good at Copernio at finding any open access PDFs. So I've got some examples here. I'm just going to show you how Copernio and the other two tools work. For this first link, I'm just going to follow this link, and it opens right up in PubMed. And I'm sure a lot of you already know, but PubMed is the National Library of Medicine, National Institute of Health, their repository that contains PDFs as well as just citations. So this example, it's just a citation. You can see up here that it links to the Lancet. If we had a subscription to the Lancet, you could just click here and get the PDF. However, we don't have a subscription to that, so you're not going to be able to get a PDF that way. However, Copernio has found an open access PDF of this article. So you can click either down here where it says PDF found, or up here where it says save item. So I'm just going to click that, and it opens in Copernio's their own landing page. So here you can share it with colleagues. You just enter their emails. This is going to take a minute. I'm not going to show that to you, but basically you just enter their emails and send it to them, or you can just download it right to your computer. You can also add tags and then save it into your locker.
Is the locker local or is it in a cloud?
It's in a cloud. So anytime you log into Copernio, no matter what browser or computer, or if you're on your phone, you'll see your articles no matter where you are. For some reason that never stays once you click Copernio. So I'm just going to show you how the open access button works on the same page. This up here, I don't know how well you can see, but this is a little icon for the OA button. And all you have to do is click on it, and it searches. And this has actually found the same paper in a totally different repository. If you can see up here, this is actually the Seoul National University's repository. But looking really quickly through the citation, it doesn't look like there's actually a PDF in here. So just keep in mind that the different tools are going to find different things sometimes. They're not always consistent. So if you look in open access button and it doesn't find it, use Copernio to see, or use the unpaywall. Unpaywall is this little lock symbol here. If unpaywall had found a PDF of this article, this would be green, and you could click on it and it would take you right to the article. So this next example will show you how unpaywall works. Also, I just want to really quickly point out that this is science. This is a page in Science Direct, and you can see up here that it is through the NOAA Central Library. However, we don't actually subscribe to neurotoxicology, so while you can see the article here and you can read the abstract, you're not actually going to be able to download the PDF. If you were to click this link, it would just take you to a page that asks you to log in. So if you come across that in Science Direct, that just means we don't have access to it, and you'll have to find it some other way, or contact the library and get it through interlibrary loan. But in this case, there is a PDF available, as you can see from Copernio down in the lower left, and then the green lock symbol from Unpaywall off to the side here. So if I go ahead and click that, it just goes ahead and it finds the PDF, and you can just go ahead and download it or print it right from here. And this is from the National Institute of Health's public repository. So if you were to Google the title, which I'm just going to do real quick, just right click and search Google, it'll come up right here. And for some reason, Unpaywall knows that there's a PDF available just from the Google search, so it still has the green symbol there. There's something else I wanted to show with this one. But that's okay. And then real quickly, I'm going to show how these tools work with Web of Science. So I'm just going to Web of Science through the library's databases page. And I'm just going to do a search for dogfish conservation. Okay, so when you're on the Web of Science page, they are pretty good about telling you when things are open access. As you can see from the third example, or from the third search result here, you can get a free full text from publisher. That's because this is an article from PLOS One, which is an open access journal. So if you just click on that, it should take you directly to the page and you can just download the article there. Or actually it just takes you directly to the article. It doesn't even take you to another landing page. But we're just gonna look real quickly at this result, which says full text from publisher here. That does not mean that you have access to full text. It just means that the publisher offers full text through their subscription service. So I don't know if you noticed, but down in the lower left, Copernio did search and it did not find anything. Unpaywall and the OA button do not recognize Web of Science as a potential thing that would have PDFs in it, because Web of Science itself does not have any PDFs. It is an indexing service. So you have to go outside Web of Science to actually find the article unless they link directly to it. Sometimes if you go up here where it says full text options, it will show you. In this case, it does not. So I'm just going to go ahead and search for the title in Google Scholar. And I just pasted it in here. And actually, Copernio has found the PDF within Google Scholar, even though it didn't when we were in Web of Science. And as you can see here, the PDF is actually from ResearchGate. And yes, I am not a robot. So ResearchGate, if you click that link, it just automatically downloads the article for you. But ResearchGate itself is, it's just a website where authors can upload their own papers. If you Google the title of papers, oftentimes it will come up with a ResearchGate link, but they don't always have PDFs associated with them. They only do if the author has decided that they want to upload their own PDFs. So in this case, if I open this PDF, it has a cover page from ResearchGate, so you know where it came from. But ultimately, it is not an open access article. It's just something that the author uploaded from Elsevier. So that is probably not, strictly speaking, within their copyright. So just keep that in mind. Not everything from ResearchGate is going to be all kosher with copyright. So that was everything I had. If you have questions, please feel free to ask, and Trevor and I will be happy to answer them. Yes.
So how many type of tags available? I mean, I should have searched for Google. Like, you know, you do the site and this one. How many types? Can you search the apps? Like, how many apps are available?
So the question was how many different types of tags you can.
Site and then put the
so site again is something that's going to limit it either by .gov or .edu. If you're looking for something that is either, are you saying if you're looking for something that's either .gov or .edu?
No, I mean instead of site, I want something else only in Maryland.
Only in Maryland. If it was like Maryland.gov, so I can.
Sure.
So if that's really the only. You're not going to be able to limit it by like physical location, but for example, I don't know what Maryland Gov's website is, but I can just take a look. So Maryland.gov. So I could take a look at this and I could say site. Maryland.gov, and then I could search for the word Democrat. And so I'm going to find everything, elections, Maryland.gov, voter services, elections.maryland.gov. So I'm going to find everything within that domain within that. So that's the functionality with that site search. File type will do any types of files. If you're working with a specific type of like GIS stuff and and need to find some information there, you will find those as long as it's a file type that can be downloaded. 3D printing, if you're doing stuff like that, you could find those types of file types. So yeah.
Is there a list of all the Google functions and tools that are available?
There are a number of websites that do provide overviews. I'd be happy to put together a resource list and put it up for you. I'd be happy to do that, and I could get that out in the next day or two. Yeah, absolutely.
Similar to that, is file type and site the only two that you can use, or are there other ones?
So the question is file type and site the only ones that you can use? I don't think I've ran into another one. That's not to say there's not one that exists. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I think date range you might be able to do in the address bar without going into tools and then a custom date range, but I am not 100% sure how to do that.
There's actually 40 of them.
Oh, 40.
It also works in your email. It's a published list from Google.
Okay. So there is a published list from Google.
So yeah, I'd have to look at that. You know, in terms of other types of resources, I'd have to take a look. And
as a follow-up to that,
yeah.
Is there a way to say not to exclude something?
Yes, and so with that's another, you know, we can't cover everything in this hour, but there is a way to, if you're doing a search, let's say I'm doing, again, this search site, maryland.gov, Democrat, and I want any page with Democrat but not Republican. You know, this is going to find web pages within the maryland.gov domain with the word Democrat on that page, but no mention of Republican. And so
Did you
just put a negative. Yeah. So that's the way to make sure you're excluding a specific term in your search. And again, there are so many of these types of things. There's asterisks for wildcards, other things that we didn't cover today. We'd be happy to run another one of these sessions and cover more though.
Yeah, you can use like after colon and some date.
Exactly.
Before colon and their date.
So somebody from the audience said you can use after colon a date, before colon a date. I would say it's also kind of your preference in terms of searching. Again, it's there are Google is very, very powerful.
Can you also show the advanced search, Google advanced search function? The Google advanced search, as you know, where you can put in just Google advanced search.
Yeah, Google advanced search, again, something that has more functionality. I like to make sure that when you're in the just regular search bar, you're able to do a lot of these things. But again, you can say none of these words, any of these words. Sometimes this can get a little confusing though, any of these words versus exact words and phrase. And it is showing you examples of these quotes, miniature or standard. The thing is if you do this search, this is just like a regular search. So with this advanced search, it can be confusing, but yeah, that's a good example.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
What out of all of these tools do you find to be the most comprehensive in terms of getting positive results for PDFs?
I really like Unpaywall. Oh, the question was, of all the tools that I showed, Copernio, Unpaywall, and OA Button, which do I think is the most comprehensive? I really like Unpaywall. It is a little glitchy. It doesn't always recognize that you are on a page, but like 99% of the time, the stuff that it finds is exactly what I'm looking for. Copernio is also really good. The OA Button is a little iffy. I don't think that one is as good as either Unpaywall or Copernio.
And I would agree with Unpaywall being the best. And then OA button, I think will find books, while unpaywall doesn't, I don't think cover books very well. So again, all these tools are useful in their.
I would say the most important thing to do is check multiple ones.
Yeah.
So install all of them, and because they do find different things at different times. And if one of them doesn't find it, the other one probably will.
Another, yep.
With Google Trend, can you find what is trending app right now or game right now?
Yes, so the question was, can you find what's trending right now?
Which game is trending right now?
Which game?
Yeah.
As in?
I mean, any like racing game or shooting game.
Sure, so for example, if I'd maybe did baseball, I haven't been playing around to find specific things like this, but let's see, so I did baseball, Arizona Razorbacks, that's our Arkansas Razorbacks baseball team, so that's trending right now in terms of, at least for related topics, that's been up 160% in whatever time range, so maybe that, you know, NCAA team is doing really well right now. So there are other functionalities in Google Trends that you can use. You can actually compare, so if you wanted to do baseball to football, I'm gonna guess football had a big jump recently, but yeah, we could see, and then you could do over a certain specific time period, 12 months, you could do last 5 years, maybe American football is the way to go with that. So there are other functionalities within Google Trends, again, that we didn't have time to cover today. Anything else in the, yes?
I have a real simple question. When you go and you do some sort of search and you get your results back, sometimes it has the date. It tells you like when. Is there a way to tell what the date is for the ones that don't have a date?
So if you're doing a search and it provides a date, let's say.
You know, sometimes whatever it is that's out there is like really old. You won't know that until you click on it and look at it. Is there a way to kind of tell? Like, see, this is 2014, but not all of them say what the date is.
I'm looking for, which one are you pointing to that says 2014?
Oh, the
This
October
one here
9th,
has got a date, like at the very beginning,
Oh,
it tells
okay.
me, okay,
Yeah.
that's not something I'm interested in. But how
Okay.
would you know for these other ones?
So the question is, this date right here, how would we find out what the date is for other ones that aren't being shown? There is this cached version, so you can actually see when the last time it was pulled from that website. So I would say that is something that you could take a look at, July 16, 2018. So if you're really looking for a date the page, at least that page was taken at, you can do that. That's not necessarily the live page. If you go to the current page, it's this. So that is something I'd probably have to look into for different materials. Whether it's the last time that page was updated, when that material was put on, if it's a PDF or another type of downloadable document. But that little green bar though, you can always use that to see the most recent cache of that website.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else online? No. Okay, we'll be around for a while, and again, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them. Library.reference@noaa.gov, and my name was Trevor Riley, and Hope Shin.
Hope Shin.
All right, thank you guys for attending. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey, just a quick question.
Yeah.
How you can find out what is trending in my area?
In your area?
Yeah, it's just